just then go to the introduction. If you can go to the next slide already, Iñaki. Thanks. So why CORDA and why, as I said at the beginning, the jewel of the crown of the Copernicus In-Situ Component activities at the EA, geospatial reference data is essential for Copernicus activities, essential for production and validation of Copernicus services. And when we speak about, in more general, in situ data, which covers not only geospatial data, but also observations and any kind of ancillary data used for Copernicus, is also very important in this context as well for calibration, validation of satellite sensors, and also Copernicus published in situ data as standalone products in some cases. I think what I like to highlight here, maybe more looking at the data providers who are really working with us in this, is that without in situ data, without geospatial data, the Copernicus program cannot simply deliver its data products and services. Next slide, Iñaki. If we look at especially geospatial data in Copernicus, is essential in the operations of our mapping services. And when we look at mapping services in Copernicus, most of you are working in the different services, so needless to say, are the on-demand mapping, exposure mapping, as part of the Copernicus Emergency Management Services, most of the products of the Copernicus Land Monitoring Service, and most of the activities carried out under the Copernicus Security Services. And for all of them, geospatial data is in general essential to increase accuracy of the products, reduce delivery time, support the validation. For example, in Copernicus Land activities, is used for visual interpretation, feature delineation of land cover land use objects, training and classification, in the context of algorithms, and so on and so forth. So in general, the role of geospatial data is critical in Copernicus services. Next slide. Copernicus has a big dependence of a number of data providers. When it comes to in-situ data, we don't have a dedicated in-situ, let's say, Copernicus in-situ activity, let's say, or data. We really need to rely on the data provided by a number of institutions. And most of them, many of them, are actually coming from what we call the Copernicus participating countries, the member states of the European Union and those associated countries which are participating in the Copernicus program. Of course, we also depend on data coming from a number of research initiatives, infrastructures, and being Copernicus a global program, we depend as well on data coming from international organizations. I think what I want to highlight here, particularly and especially for those data providers joining today, is that your collaboration is essential for the success of the program. And it's not only kind of a one-directional by providing geospatial data from your country or from your region. We actually ensure that the product over your region is more accurate, is more precise, in it can benefit you as well as a potential user in the future. Next slide. Just a few words on how it works actually when it comes to Copernicus In-Situ. The EA is, let's say, in the center as coordinator of the cross-cutting elements of the Copernicus In-Situ activities, but we need to collaborate with a number of entrusted entities because they are really in charge of their daily operational activities when it comes to in-situ data. So we are trying to support the entrusted entities, and one of the tools that we use to support them is actually CORDA. So you go to the next slide. Here you see the 4 main areas where we are actually working. I will not go in detail, but basically we try to cover different aspects related to in-situ, from to engagement with data providers, to provide access to data, as well as providing any kind of support and advice when it comes to your spatial data, in situ data. You go to the next click again. CORDA is actually on focus as part of our data access activity. Next, or strand of activities. Next slide. I will not go here in detail because that is the main purpose of the webinar, but CORDA is really aims to be an entry point or a single entry point to up-to-date national and regional authoritative geospatial data for Copernicus. So our main target users are the Copernicus mapping services. It's important, and Olga and Iñaki will highlight this, we don't host the data by default. By default, this always remains on the data provider. We are acting as a gateway to this data. What is important is that we do a continuous monitoring, and whenever you are, again, looking at the data providers updating your data, we then update our catalog. So the idea is that we can offer the service providers, the contractors working for the different trusted entities, the most up-to-date data at national level. We are also providing semantically harmonized multi-country database for key topics. That's what we call the multi-country datasets. We'll give you a bit of details later on. And again, because we are targeting Copernicus service providers as main users, and some of the data that we provide are not publicly available, this tool is restricted for Copernicus service providers, at least those datasets which have any kind of restrictions. We also have a category which is for non-restricted data that we can also use depending on the request. This webinar is part of what we call the user acceptance test, because we really want to gather as many input as possible to see how best to improve the user experience of CORDA. Next slide. And this is this work with CORDA is pretty much enhanced thanks to a service agreement that we signed with EuroGeographics, representing the European National Mapping, Cadastral and Land Registration agencies in Europe. The service agreement that we signed back in, we have a first step in 2017 for Copernicus Emergency Service, but then we open it up for in 2022 for all the three services. If you click again, I think I still have something in the slide. Yeah, this has already, since the last update of the service agreement, thanks to the excellent work between EuroGeographic members and CORDA, resulted in an increase over the last few months in more than 60 datasets, almost 200 services from 12 countries made now available in CORDA.